Before we dive in, tell me, which city are you watching from? Drop it down in the comments below because it's always amazing to see where everyone's tuning in from. Today, we're uncovering the hidden truths behind dating app psychology, what her profile pics really say. And trust me, most men never notice these signals. If you're ready to understand female psychology on a deeper level, hit that subscribe button right now so you never miss a video like this. And after watching, I want to hear your thoughts. What kind of profile pictures have caught your attention before? Share your experiences in the comment box below. Your story might just reveal more than you think. The hidden language of self-image. Every profile picture a woman posts on a dating app is a psychological mirror. It's more than a photo. It's a language of self-presentation, a curated identity built to communicate silently but powerfully. Female psychology reveals that women don't just upload pictures randomly. They construct them with a subtle blend of self-awareness, emotion, and unconscious signaling. Each pose, expression, and background is designed to influence perception. What kind of man she attracts, how she's seen, and even how she feels about herself. This is the hidden language of self-image. In modern dating psychology, women instinctively understand that visuals speak before words ever can. The moment a man scrolls past her profile, her photo has already told him everything: confidence, vulnerability, desire, ambition, or avoidance. The act of choosing a picture is deeply emotional because for many women, it's not about showing who they are, but about showing who they want to be seen as. That gap between reality and image is where female psychology thrives, balancing authenticity and aspiration. For example, when a woman posts a mirror selfie, she's often inviting attention, but in a controlled environment. The mirror gives her full authority over her angle, lighting, and expression. It's her domain, her reflection, literally and metaphorically. The photo says, "I decide how you see me." The mirror selfie might look casual, but psychologically, it communicates control and self-curation. On the other hand, when a woman chooses a candid, laughing photo, it's a softer form of signaling. She wants to appear approachable, emotionally open, and effortless. Yet even that spontaneity is often staged to look unplanned. It's not deceit, it's presentation psychology. Female psychology operates on emotional intelligence and social perception. Women understand the subconscious impact of imagery more than they admit. A beach photo signals confidence and sensuality through body language and exposure to nature. A subconscious invitation tied to openness and freedom. A travel photo in front of mountains or landmarks sends a different message. It hints at independence, curiosity, and a desire for experience over attachment. She's saying, "I value exploration, not confinement." These subtle choices shape how she's interpreted by men, often filtering out those who don't fit her desired dynamic. Even facial expressions carry encoded meaning. Direct eye contact in a photo exudes assertiveness and emotional readiness. A slightly averted gaze, however, introduces mystery. It attracts men who are drawn to chase what seems emotionally distant. Every micro-expression tells a story, even when she's unaware of it. Women are trained, both socially and emotionally, to understand how they're perceived, and that awareness drives how they construct their digital identity. Lighting, filters, and composition are psychological amplifiers. A softly lit picture can reflect emotional warmth and vulnerability. A high-contrast, moody edit might express depth or artistic independence. When a woman posts filtered or edited photos, it's often not about deception, it's about emotional enhancement. She's amplifying the part of herself she feels most comfortable showing, disguising insecurity beneath digital aesthetics. It's emotional camouflage. The environment she chooses, bedroom, cafe, gym, outdoors, adds another layer to her self-portrait. The background is as revealing as the face. A gym selfie reflects discipline and self-worth derived from control and appearance. A home setting conveys intimacy and comfort. A social setting shows sociability and belonging. Each photo is a psychological ecosystem, one that communicates her emotional landscape through visuals alone. When men overlook these details, they miss the deeper meaning of her presentation. What looks like a simple dating profile is, in truth, a psychological map of her needs, self-perception, and relational expectations. It's not about the photo itself. It's about the intent behind it, the emotion driving it, and the silent communication it delivers long before she ever sends a message. The confidence versus insecurity contrast. One of the most fascinating aspects of female psychology on dating apps lies in the contrast between confidence and insecurity. At first glance, a woman's profile picture might scream self-assurance, bold eye contact, perfect posture, radiant smile. But beneath that digital confidence, psychology often reveals a far more complex emotional framework. What most men don't realize is that many women's most confident-looking photos are not reflections of how secure they feel, but rather how deeply they crave validation. Confidence and insecurity are not opposites in this context. They coexist, intertwine, and create the visual tension that defines online attraction. A confident pose is often a carefully constructed performance. A woman may spend hours choosing one picture that captures her best version, yet that very process exposes her vulnerability. She's hyper-aware of how she'll be perceived, how many matches she might get, and whether her appearance aligns with current standards of attractiveness. Psychology calls this the self-presentation paradox. The more effort someone invests in projecting confidence, the more likely that effort is compensating for a hidden insecurity. What appears effortless is often the result of emotional overthinking. For instance, when a woman posts a bold close-up, chin lifted, eyes locked on the camera, body angled to emphasize power, it's not always arrogance. Often, it's emotional armor. She's creating a version of herself that commands respect before affection, control before connection. This type of photo can be an unconscious defense mechanism, protecting her from rejection by ensuring she appears untouchable. Her confidence becomes a shield that conceals self-doubt, especially in a digital environment where she knows she's being judged within seconds. On the other hand, some women embrace subtlety. They post softer photos, eyes down, gentle smile, relaxed pose, to express authenticity and depth. To a man, this might seem like low confidence, but psychologically, it can indicate emotional maturity. Women who have processed their insecurities often don't need to appear dominant or flawless. They allow vulnerability to exist in their presentation. This kind of quiet confidence isn't about perfection, it's about acceptance. Yet it's often overlooked because the modern dating algorithm rewards visual dominance, not emotional depth. The psychology of female self-presentation also reveals that the contrast between confidence and insecurity is situational. Many women adjust their photos based on how they feel internally or what they've recently experienced emotionally. After a breakup, she might post more glamorous or revealing pictures, not necessarily because she feels beautiful, but because she's trying to reclaim her sense of desirability. The external expression of confidence becomes an act of emotional healing, a way of rewriting her narrative after emotional loss. The profile picture becomes a digital declaration: I'm still wanted. Conversely, when a woman feels genuinely fulfilled, her photos tend to soften. She no longer seeks validation through dramatic poses or overt sensuality. Her confidence shows up as ease, not performance. She might smile naturally, post a simple selfie, or share a moment that's imperfect but real. This transition reflects emotional stability, the shift from seeking approval to expressing authenticity. It's also important to recognize that insecurity isn't always negative. In female psychology, it often drives self-awareness. A woman who worries about her image is, in essence, engaging in introspection. She's measuring her emotional worth through external feedback, which, while fragile, is deeply human. The danger lies in over-identifying with that feedback, when her sense of value becomes tied to likes, matches, or male attention. That's when confidence becomes conditional, dependent on constant digital affirmation. This is the hidden contrast most men miss. The confident-looking woman might be fragile behind the screen, while the shy, subtle one might possess genuine self-assurance. Confidence in female psychology isn't just about posture or presentation. It's about the emotional motive behind the picture. Whether she's projecting strength or softness, there's always an internal dialogue happening, a negotiation between how she wants to be seen and how she actually feels inside. Emotional storytelling through aesthetics. Every picture a woman posts on a dating app tells a story, even when she doesn't realize she's telling one. In female psychology, visuals are rarely random. They are emotional expressions wrapped in aesthetics. From lighting and color tones to outfits and backgrounds, everything is part of an unconscious narrative about who she is, what she feels, and what kind of connection she craves. Her pictures are not just for attraction. They're windows into her current emotional world. Aesthetics become a language of emotion, allowing her to communicate feelings she may never put into words. Colors, for instance, carry immense psychological weight. A woman who chooses warm tones, sunlight, golden filters, soft pinks, or earthy hues is often expressing emotional openness and vitality. These tones symbolize warmth, safety, and emotional availability. They signal that she's ready for connection, not just attention. In contrast, a profile built on cool tones, muted blues, grays, or dark filters reveals a different story. It often represents introspection, independence, or even emotional distance. These photos feel artistic, calm, and composed, but beneath that composure lies a form of guardedness. The color palette she uses becomes an emotional barometer, showing whether she's reaching outward or retreating inward. The setting of her photos also acts as narrative context. A woman posing near the ocean or mountains is not merely showing travel enthusiasm, she's presenting freedom as part of her identity. The open horizon symbolizes expansion and detachment, a desire to be seen as a woman of adventure, experience, and mystery. Nature becomes a metaphor for emotional depth. On the other hand, indoor shots, especially in cozy, well-lit spaces, indicate emotional intimacy. She's inviting the viewer into her personal environment, signaling comfort and vulnerability. She may not be consciously aware of this invitation, but the psychology of space reveals it. The more personal the setting, the more emotionally transparent the woman tends to be. Lighting is another silent storyteller. Bright, natural light often signifies optimism and authenticity. It's an open emotional state where she's comfortable being seen. Dim or shadowed light, however, evokes mood and depth, often hinting at inner conflict, artistic temperament, or a guarded soul. Women who gravitate toward darker aesthetics are frequently more self-reflective. They're not trying to hide. They're expressing complexity. The shadows in their pictures represent the shadows in their psyche, the parts they rarely share in words but are comfortable hinting at through imagery. Then comes expression, the facial emotion that connects the aesthetics to the heart. A wide smile communicates approachability, hope, and emotional readiness. A serious, contemplative look, however, speaks to emotional intelligence and selective vulnerability. The difference lies in what she's offering versus what she's protecting. In female psychology, smiling is not always about happiness. It's about emotional management. It's how women regulate the perception of their emotions in public spaces, especially digital ones. Even fashion choices and body language add chapters to this visual story. A bright dress with flowing movement may symbolize playfulness and spontaneity, while minimalist attire in monochrome tones suggests focus, independence, or control. A woman's posture, the way she tilts her head, crosses her arms, or angles her shoulders, reveals the balance between confidence and caution. A relaxed stance signals emotional openness. A tightly posed frame signals self-consciousness or the desire to project perfection. Each pose becomes part of her emotional script. Aesthetics also provide a sense of emotional timing. When a woman changes her profile theme, suddenly shifting from vibrant travel photos to moody, artistic ones, it often reflects an internal transformation. Maybe she's healing, reevaluating herself, or detaching from old attachments. Her visuals evolve as her emotions evolve. The colors, tones, and themes of her photos become timestamps of her emotional journey, quietly recording her phases of confidence, heartbreak, discovery, and renewal. In the psychology of female expression, aesthetics are not decoration, they are confession. Every photo is a small act of storytelling, crafted not with words, but with choices. What looks like beauty is often emotion in disguise, translated into composition, color, and light, the validation loop. At the core of female psychology on dating apps lies a powerful and often misunderstood mechanism, the validation loop. It is not just about attraction or attention, it's about emotional measurement. Each like, match, or message becomes a subtle form of feedback that shapes how a woman perceives herself. In the world of digital connection, validation becomes both currency and confirmation. Every interaction reflects back an image of worth, desirability, and emotional relevance. What most men never see is how deeply this system influences a woman's inner dialogue about identity, self-esteem, and emotional security. When a woman uploads a profile picture, she's not just sharing an image, she's testing how the world responds to it. The digital response, how many likes she gets, how quickly they come, and who they come from, creates a rush of neurochemical reward. Dopamine fires in the brain, mirroring the same psychological reward system that fuels social media addiction. For a moment, she feels seen, valued, validated, but the cycle doesn't stop there. Because the validation fades as quickly as it arrives, she feels compelled to post again, to recreate that sense of recognition and approval. It becomes a loop, one that quietly trains her to seek external confirmation instead of internal confidence. Female psychology views this pattern not as vanity, but as emotional adaptation. In a space where visibility determines value, women learn to navigate attention strategically. They notice what types of photos get more responses: smiling versus serious, revealing versus conservative, authentic versus filtered. Over time, this observation becomes behavioral conditioning. The more validation a certain type of image brings, the more she leans into that aesthetic. Her digital identity becomes an evolving reflection of what others reward. In essence, the dating app teaches her how to be desirable according to collective feedback. This feedback loop has profound emotional consequences. On one side, it can boost confidence temporarily. A surge of matches might make her feel empowered, attractive, even superior. Yet, beneath that surface, another feeling often grows: dependence. Because her worth begins to fluctuate with her online performance, she becomes sensitive to silence. When responses slow down or interest fades, it triggers insecurity, self-doubt, and overanalysis. She might question her looks, her photos, or even her value as a person. The emotional high of attention turns into the low of comparison. This is why so many women refresh, edit, and update their profiles regularly. It's not always about changing who they are, it's about adjusting to maintain a steady flow of external reassurance. Psychology calls this intermittent reinforcement. The unpredictable nature of attention makes it more addictive. A few likes here, a flattering message there, and suddenly she's caught in an emotional rhythm she doesn't fully control. The unpredictability of validation keeps her coming back, hoping the next post will deliver the same thrill of being noticed. Yet there's a subtle emotional irony at play. Many women publicly dismiss the importance of online validation, claiming they post for themselves or that likes don't matter. But deep down, even minimal acknowledgement can soothe emotional tension. It's not about vanity, it's about visibility. Being seen, in a psychological sense, equals existing. The digital gaze confirms presence. Every match says, "You're still relevant." Every compliment says, "You still matter." It's an emotional reassurance that transcends logic and taps into primal human need, the need to be desired. Over time, the validation loop begins to shape not only her digital presence, but her emotional identity. The profile becomes less about authentic self-expression and more about performance. The woman who once posted photos to share her story now posts to sustain her significance. Her sense of self becomes intertwined with the reactions of others, creating a cycle that feels empowering on the surface, but emotionally draining beneath it. This is the invisible loop most men never notice, the psychological heartbeat behind her profile pictures, where each like echoes far louder than it seems, the persona versus the person. Every woman on a dating app builds two versions of herself, the one she wants the world to see and the one she actually is. This psychological divide between the persona and the person forms the foundation of modern digital attraction. The persona is the curated image, the carefully selected pictures, and the bio that aligns with how she wants to be perceived. The person, however, is the unseen truth behind the camera, the emotions, fears, and vulnerabilities she rarely reveals online. Female psychology thrives in this duality, constantly negotiating between visibility and protection, authenticity and performance. The persona is a form of emotional armor. It's not fake, it's filtered. A woman constructs it with intention and precision, aware that every visual detail carries weight. The way she tilts her head, the confidence in her smile, the softness in her lighting, all of it communicates something she wants to project. She knows she's being judged, so she becomes her own publicist. This persona is built from both strength and insecurity. It allows her to present the best version of herself, but also shields her from the emotional risk of being truly seen. The moment she chooses a photo, she's already choosing which parts of herself deserve exposure and which parts deserve silence. Beneath that controlled exterior lies the person, the one who feels deeply, doubts quietly, and hides what she fears won't be accepted. While the persona says, "I'm confident," the person might be whispering, "I hope I'm enough." This emotional contrast defines the psychological complexity of women in the digital age. They aren't pretending to be someone else. They're protecting the most sensitive parts of who they are. The persona becomes a safe version of the self that can withstand judgment and rejection, while the real person remains behind emotional glass, watching how the world reacts. In dating app culture, this duality is amplified. The persona must compete with thousands of others, which pushes women to refine their presentation even more. Filters, angles, and captions become tools of emotional control, ways to shape the narrative before anyone else does. Yet, what men often miss is that every polished picture has emotional fingerprints on it. The choice to hide certain imperfections or to highlight certain traits is never random. It reflects her current emotional state, her confidence level, and her relationship with self-acceptance. The distance between the persona and the person also determines how real a connection can become. If a woman's digital persona is too far from her true self, she begins to feel emotionally disconnected even from her own image. She might gain attention, but feel unseen. Compliments directed at her profile can feel hollow because they don't reach the person behind it. This disconnect creates emotional fatigue, a quiet loneliness that grows the more she performs. She becomes visible, but not known. For many women, the persona serves a survival purpose. It allows them to navigate a digital environment that can be both validating and cruel. It's a way to remain in control when vulnerability feels dangerous. But internally, the woman still longs for someone who can see past the polish, to recognize the human beneath the projection. This desire for emotional recognition sits at the center of female psychology. She doesn't just want to be admired for the persona, she wants to be accepted for the person. Every profile picture is therefore a negotiation between truth and protection. The smile might be real, but the meaning behind it often carries layers of emotional history. A woman might project freedom, but secretly fear abandonment. She might show independence, but crave closeness. She might display confidence while quietly battling insecurity. The persona is her language of control. The person is her reality of emotion. When a man can distinguish between the two, when he looks beyond presentation to perception, he steps into a deeper understanding of the female psyche, one that exists far beyond what any picture can reveal.